Newcastle United go into the international break on a high. But how are the underlying numbers of this team and our performances? Are we going into a high trajectory or we're going into a low trajectory? Let's find out right here, right now on Toon Tactics TV, folks.
Brilliant from Cher. And now Murphy could take on the shot. Fabian Cher wins!
All right, folks. How are you all doing? I hope you're having a blessed day and a blessed evening. Let me know in the chat how your week is going, what you've been up to. For myself, I've been absolutely blessed. I've been having a very good day, a very good week here with the family and everybody else. And I got to catch up. You won't believe this. I got to catch up on the second half of the Nottingham Forest game. I didn't get to see the second half. So I'm going to be doing a brief review of that game today before we get onto the main crux of the show, where we're going to be talking about we're going to compare our last season standings after 7 games in the Prem, and obviously we're going to include the cup competitions as well, compared to now, to see how we're doing compared to last season. Are we improving? Are we not? And I'm going to give a brief review on what Newcastle are doing well, as well as things to improve on, as always, and to see how we're heading into the what is our trajectory in terms of going into the after the international break, or going into the international break. What is our trajectory? Where are we heading into, and what we're up to? So I really enjoy preparing for the show, actually, and looking into some numbers, looking at what's happening, and to seeing, is Newcastle, are we beating strong? Is Newcastle's season, is our checkup report, are we doing well? So I've been absolutely kind of enjoying preparing for the show, and that went great. My camera's off, annoyingly. Let's see if we can get it back on anyway. But I am going to review, what I plan to do is to review the... before we get on, I'm going to review the Nottingham Forest game. Let me see if I can get my camera back on first. I'm going to do a brief review of the Forest game before we get into the... oh, brilliant, back on. In a funny angle, though. Here we go. Oh, gosh, off again. Annoying. Let me see if I can get myself back on. Brilliant. So, I'm going to do a brief review of the Nottingham Forest game. Like I said, I only just saw the second half. So before we get into the season, into how we've been playing so far this season and comparing it to last year, seeing where we're going, let's do a quick review, a brief review of the Nottingham Forest game. But before we do that, I already got folks in the chat. Good to see my man, Aaron Cave. God bless you, sir. Good evening, Philip. Good evening to you. Hope you are well. Oh, and by the way, before I get... Actually, I'll do that as well in a moment. Kevin Hawthorne, good to see you, sir. God bless you. Good evening from Lakeland, Florida. Incredible. International. Toon Tactics TV is heading to be international. Oh, great to have you on the show, Kevin, as always. And that's the other thing I was going to remember. I am going to also ask you guys to let me know who, as I'm talking through the show, but do let me know who is your current player, who is your current best performing player at this moment in time. And you can see below the banner, this is the link to voting in for your best player. It's a ranking system, so it's not just the one player. You'll get to between 5 players. I think Voldemort is in there, Malik Charles in there, Botman, Byrne, Pope, I think. So just rank your best players. And we're going to talk at the end of the show, not even the end of the show, but at the part of the review, to see what you guys are thinking as well. And I'll let you guys know who at the moment is my best performing player for Newcastle United. But as we talked about, let's do a brief review of the Nottingham Forest game. It's going to be very brief. It's not going to go too much detail because I do want to talk about our season so far as well. But to be honest, though, the Forest game is part of that as well. So. Is going to be important. Kim Cam, also good to see you. God bless you, sir. I hope you are well. Right, so let's get into the numbers of it, right? So let me see. Where are you? Is that it? Yes, it is. That's the pass map. I'm gonna go backwards first. Right. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Yes, you can. Because I've got the game still fairly fresh in my mind, and I did take really good notes. I just want to say that I think we played a really good. We had a really good game overall. I know that the first half, for instance, for me, the first half we had two really good early chances, both to Joe Linton. If you guys remember the cutback to him, I can't remember if it was Elanga who gave him the cutback, and he hit it straight at the keeper. And then there was the header, which was a little bit more, difficult compared to the cutback he received. I thought with the cutback, had he hit it either side of the keeper, would have been 1-0 up within the first 5 minutes. But alas, that did not happen. Then obviously the header. From then on, and I expected Forest to play Ange ball, high line, inverted fullbacks, and he didn't really do that until the second half, and the second half of the second half, so like after the 70th minute or so. And credit to Ange, because he always gets blamed for not adapting and not changing, and he did. And he kind of went into mid block and then into a bit of a low block, made it very choppy. The Forest made it very choppy, and fouls and yellow cards and wasting of time where they could, and just killing our momentum. And it's what made it really, really frustrating. And credit to them. If you're gonna frustrate Newcastle, if you're gonna stop us from getting momentum, that's the best way to do that. Because, and I'm about to talk about it in the second half. And King Cam, you're right, exactly. We had many chances. We're going to talk about this because the reason why they did what they did in the first half, all the fouling, the stopping, the chopping, the changing, the killing the momentum, is because of what happened in the second half. And what happened in the second half in particular, which I noted, and there's a lot of things, but the main things that happened, especially with the, say for instance, the lead up to the goals, like the lead up to our first goal via Bruno Gomes. By the way, that was a worldie, fantastic finish, right? But just leading up to that, we had, where is it? I got it in my notes here. Where's Bruno? Forest did the header earlier. They come close. Elanga, where is he? But just leading up to that, we literally had about like 2, 3, 4 waves of attacks, and we disrupted Forest's line. They were sitting in a low block or mid block at times, and they were fairly comfortable. Not comfortable isn't the word. They felt more secure, but the waves of attack that we kept on causing towards them, it put them in the bind. Because you'd even notice that, for instance, because we took the ball off. So when they played it out after one of our crosses, it came to Morgan Gibbs-White. Obviously we had Morgan Gibbs-White claiming to have been fouled. He wasn't fouled, and we won the ball off him. They were trying to come out, played it straight to Bruno. But you have to understand what even led up to that, to Morgan Gibbs-White, that ball being played in the way that it was. Their lines were disrupted. It felt like they couldn't get their bearings right, because there were balls flying in. We weren't letting them come out. Malik Chow was pushing up everybody because he holds up the high line, and it's what led to Morgan Gibbs-White, I think, not knowing where he was when he took the ball on the half turn and Bruno took the ball off him. Bruno gets the ball, gets to Burn. Bruno moves up, Burn gets to him, and Bruno hits a worldie. Fantastic goal. But it came from that wave of attacks that sorted that happened that way. And it's the same thing that led up to the penalty, I feel, where just before Bruno again was fouled, just leading up to that, where is it? But before that, Voltemada had hit the bar. just before that, Chow, I think before or after that, Chow, there was that cross from Murphy where Chow hit a great ball from Jacob Murphy, who I thought had a really, really good cameo coming on. Really good ball to him before Chow hit it straight at the keeper. Then there was another ball that Murphy hit towards Barnes. I don't know if you guys remember, early ball from the right hand, and I think Barnes just stops in front of the keeper. Considering everything, could Barnes have hit it first time? I don't know, but he went straight at the keeper. But those are part of the waves of attacks again that happened against Forest. And so by the time the penalty came, again, Forest tried to get the better. They tried to, Anderson, who had a really good game for Forest, tried to play it out. Couldn't see, or didn't check his indicators. Didn't see Bruno behind him, and obviously when Bruno just came, when he was trying to pass the ball, he ended up kicking Bruno instead, and that's what led to the penalty. But what led to the penalty, what led to the goals, were the waves of attack and the pressure that Newcastle were putting on Forest in those times. And I thought that we were really, really good at that, and you can see why Forest were really stop and starting continuously in that first half, is to stop those waves of attack because of what led to because that's what led to the kind of key moments for Newcastle United. But Forest, what I noticed as well, when Forest did get a little bit of joy, I don't know if guys remember, there was an early ball. I don't know if it was Igor Jesus or Ndoye to it was I have it Ndoye to Igor Jesus, and it was in the second half. And Malik Chow did a really exceptional tackle before Igor Jesus could shoot. And they did it a second time as well, but it was those early balls rather than cutbacks that really hurt us. Gave us difficulties, and so I noted that, and I thought about, if you're a team and a future opponent for Newcastle United, you're going to try and win the game, try to score. Those early balls could be something to look at, because it's going to be difficult to just play through us because we're so defensively disciplined. So I noted that as well. Some great games from. I didn't realize this until I saw a comment on X that we were playing in a 2-3-2-3 formation. So, these players weren't fixing these positions necessarily, but you had Malik Chow and you had Botman, for instance, at the back with Kieran Trippier, Byrne, and Tonali in front of them. Kieran Trippier almost in the free role that allowed him to connect with Elanga a lot more. That's why you kind of see a lot more attacks from the right-hand side, because Kieran Trippier was able to connect with Elanga, able to connect with Tonali and Bruno at times as well. And that's where a lot of our attacks, or more of our attacks, were happening. And you're going to see that later on in the pass map as well. So I thought that was really, really good. I thought those connections were really, really good. It was really interesting to see us playing a 2-3-2-3. I don't know if we've ever done that before. You guys let me know in the chat. But it just let me know how we're able to have tactical flexibility because of the influx of new players that we have. I thought that was really, really good. Obviously, mentioning Malik Chow had a great game, who again I just think is class. Botman. And we're going to talk about Botman again in terms of his passing, his overall defensive display. He is a level above. Honestly, he's absolutely phenomenal. Tonali had a fantastic game. I thought, like I mentioned, Jacob Murphy had a great cameo. Nick Voltemada was connecting the play. And he's such a great profile for us because we're blessed with so many fast, athletic, powerful runners and players, that Nick Voltemada, who's, again, physically imposing and strong, hasn't got the pace, obviously, but he is able to hold on to the ball, slow things down, or hold the ball in that against mid blocks, which we suffered against a lot in the last season, and bring others into play. And when he holds up the ball in those mid block in the middle of the pitch, you're seeing the runs from Gordon, from Elanga, especially from Barnes. I think Barnes really likes playing next to Voltemada, and Jacob Murphy. And he's so good at bringing others into play in that way. So I thought it was a really, really good display from really the whole team. But I thought I'd mention those players. And so let's get into a little bit of the stats from that game, and I'll briefly talk about the pass map, and then we'll get into everything else. And guys, like I said, if you guys can see this, where is it? This link at the bottom. We are reviewing the team today, and part of that review, we're going to be talking about who is your current best performer for Newcastle United. So hit that link. Make sure you cast, you get to rank them. There's about 5-6 players there: Tonali, Bruno, Botman, and we'll see at the end of the show, or towards the end. I don't know, at some point of the show, where who is your best performing player? Who's Toon Tactics TV best performing player so far? And I'll let you guys know who mine is as well at some point as well. But great to see again more folks in the chat. I think I mentioned. Did I mention Kim Cam? Good to see you. I did say good to see you, Kim Cam. Thank you, Aaron. Sweet Aaron for. Yeah, I can't even put it into the share the thing as well. Thanks again, Aaron, for letting folks know. For anyone to do the poll, do put it in the chat as well. So do appreciate that. Let me see. Can I get it into the chat? Got it. Let me see if I can share it. Here we go. Let me put. Okay, so I've copied it. Let me put the link into the chat. So guys, do get on it. Here we go. Right, it's right at the bottom. Can I pin it? Put user. No, I can't put myself on timer. That's crazy. So guys, I put the link in the chat. So do get on it and rank your favorite player or best performing player. Adrian Pickett, good to see you. God bless you. As always, great to see you. Aaron says, only issue with a 2-3-2-3 formation is we lack pace in both fullback areas. Yes. Them wide channels are going to be, and that's where the early balls came from Forest, especially on the right side when Ndoye was. Hudson-Odoi made a real difference as well when he came on. Thankfully, Malik Charles Pace bailed us out a number of times as well. Then wide channels are going to be an issue because Trips and Burn lack recovery pace. Absolutely, you're spot on there, Aaron. Kim Cam says the players started to raise their game. We in better position in all fronts than last month. I agree. Adrian Pickett says left back Burn plays a hybrid position, doesn't he? Practically LCB of a like it's, and you're right. You're absolutely right. He's not like a traditional left back at all. Right. So I totally agree with that. So look, these are the numbers. We had the bulk of the possession just about. What I was pleased with, again, aerial duels fairly even between both teams. That's the general stats. The ones I really, really like, obviously, or I'm focusing on is the passing, especially. That's the thing for us to improve on. We had 42 long passes to their 51, so less passing from us. But there's one I want to see. I'm curious to see, and I haven't seen this just yet because, like I said, I mentioned I really like Botman's passing, especially from the back. So I'm really keen to see our passing accuracy. Again, passing accuracy in opponent's half, brilliant, 80%. That's really, really good. I think at one point we were averaging at 65% in terms of passing accuracy in the opponent's half. So 80%. We've continued that on from the who did we play before Forest? Was it USG? I think it was USG. And so we'll continue on from there, which is good. Total passes in the final third, 160 from us compared to 91 from Forest. So nearly twice as much as them. Passing accuracy in the final third, 76.3%. Very, very good. So we've maintained a fairly good level of passing accuracy in the opponent's half, which we've improved on by at least 15%, really, over the last 2 games, especially. That's good to see. And also, what's good to see, I just saw it through balls, I had 3 through balls. It felt like a little bit more, but fine. We have 3 through balls, crosses. That's the other thing we needed to improve on. So 19.2%. Yeah, Forest was fairly more than ours, but it had less volume. So I can't remember what was our passing accuracy last time I checked. Because we did do a thing on it. It was fairly, I want to say 14%, but I might have got that wrong. So 19.2%. I do think that's. I'm pretty certain that we've improved. Attack, the most important metric, goals, 2 goals, which is good. 18 shots to their 5, 9 shots on target. So out of the 18 shots, 1 and 2 shots were on target, which is good. We had 5 of those blocked, and especially that Voltemada chance as well, when Morata first gave it away to Voltemada. Voltemada shoots and Morata blocked it. That was a big one. Headed shots, that one from Malik Chow and from Joe Linton as well. Those were on target. Shots inside the box. So out of the 18 shots, 13 shots were inside the box. And a little bit later, when we look at the XG, I'll be interested to see where they were. And I'll be surprised if it's right in between the posts. So we're attacking the right areas, and where I think our quality of shots, our quality of chances is also raised in this game as well, which is important to see. Shooting accuracy though 50% compared to the 50%. Sheesh. Key passes 15 to their 4. Again, really good stats, improved stats in terms of passing and everything else. I'm not going to hold on too much onto the tackling. I was impressed by a recovery in attacking half, right? 13.5. I don't know. I'm going to understand what that means, but I did note in my own notes that our recovery run, so when we lose the ball in the opponent's halves, was really good. Midfield recovery 20 out of 18 to their 18. I thought we were really good in our recovery runs in this game. I felt we were a lot more intensive in that area as well. So I don't know what you guys thought of that as before that. Let's see a few of your chats before we go to the passing map and the XG, because we're going to talk about XG quite a bit today. Sorry, Agent Paul is asking you to rank your best performing Newcastle United players so far this season. So rank your best performing Newcastle players this season. So let me go. Let me see if I can get it on. Yeah, here we go. Let me go here. Share the tab instead. Can you guys see that? Yes, you can. Let me zoom in a little bit though. Gosh. Let's zoom in a little bit. And so, where's the test? Is the test? Preview. Here we go. So literally, it will come up like this on your screen when you click on it. Who have I got? So I've got Pope, Livramento, Tonali, Nick Voldemada, Burn, and Bruno for you guys to choose from. So essentially, say Pope might be a first, Livramento a second, third Tonali, fourth Voldemada, fifth Burn, sixth Bruno, then submit it, and it comes up like that on the poll. So that's what it is in essence. So yeah, guys. Send in your votes. Your votes. Let's see how you guys are rating and ranking the players. No, in general, Adrian. So over the season so far, so we played 10 games this season. Who are your best performing players so far this season? No, I did a bad. Keep reminding me, because you won't be the only one, Adrian. All right, so let's get into the stats. Can you guys see that for the Forest game? Excellent, brilliant. What was that thing? Passing map? Oh no, pass map or XG map? Let me go before I go to the passing map. Let me just show the XG map. I wanted to see our chances. So we're on the left. First of all, before we go on to us, let's look at Forest. How we minimize them. I thought that was. Can you guys see that really well? Yeah, you can see that really well. All right, so let me get back on it. So Forest are on the right. And remember, the smaller the circle, it's the smaller the what can I say? The lower the quality of XG. So the lower quality of that shot, or the that so the more Gibbs White had a right footed miss. That particular chance was like 0.065%. So it wasn't like 6% chance of a quality chance really. So they were really. I think overall the XG was like 0.35 or 0.3, something like that, in terms of being able to get, so they weren't even valued for a goal. Morgan was White again, missed shot with a 0.0064 inside the box. Again, Yates 0.3. So we really, really, really minimized them, as opposed to Newcastle here on the left. Remember, 18 shots, 9 on target, 13 shots inside the box as well. Look how many lovely round circles we got, including obviously the penalty from Voldemar, which was an exceptional penalty. Also, the right-footed miss from Barnes, that's the one that came from the right-hand side from Jacob Murphy. Great. Jacob Murphy deserved to get at least an assist. One from Barnes and one to, was it Chow? If you guys remember the shot, the header from Chow. Why is it not showing? Where's Chow? Yeah, Chow. They gave it 4.6. That was a left-footed miss. I thought Chow headed the ball. Oh, he was. No, he got it with the foot. Yeah, sorry, I kept saying header. The ball came in. He must have hit it with his foot. Regardless, our XG, look how many inside their box. So we've had more shots inside the box than outside of the box. Obviously, the one that we scored outside the box, that was from Bruno, that worldie, that had a 0.047 chance of going in. So 4% chance. And Bruno pulled it out the bag for us. So that's why we call it a worldie, really. Otherwise, high quality chances of the penalty. Malik Chow, Nick Voldemar, the one that was blocked. Barnes, we talked about. The header from Joe Linton in the first half. Does not have the Joe Linton one. Where's the Joe Linton chance where he hit it straight at the keeper? It's missing that one. Do you guys remember the Joe Linton when he hit it straight at the keeper as well, when it was cut back to him? So again, why I'm kind of sticking on to the XG and the chance created and the passing is because those are the issues that we talked about, a couple games ago now. And it feels like, especially in terms of our attacking output, to show really, really good defensive output and what we're doing in our system. But there was a bit of our attacking output wasn't reflecting what our defensive output was doing. And so it's good to see, really good to see, especially after the USG game, us following that up again in terms of our creativity in our attack. So that's like 6 goals in 2 games now, which is really, really positive to see. So this is the passing map. Let me see if you guys got anything in the chat. No, not yet. So, you guys can't see it. Pass map. Let me show you first Forest's pass map. And for the folks that aren't aware how the pass map works, is on Opta Analyst. The thicker the lines, it's the more these individual players are passing to each other within a 90-minute game. So, for instance, you've got Matt Sells here, Forest's goalkeeper, passing to Morata. So it's quite a thick line here. And if you look at it, in the whole 90 minutes, they pass to each other at least 11 times, yeah? 8 times was Rodriguez de Silva, the defender, to Sells. So that shows you if Rodriguez, the defender, is passing to Sells, the goalkeeper, where's he passing? He's passing backwards. So more time he's having to pass backwards because of our press and everything that we're doing. And Sells to Rodriguez is free 3 times towards Rodriguez. So that shows you just how much they were unable to, not only how much Morata and Sells are passing to each other, but how much, or the likelihood that Morata was having to pass backwards to his keeper because they wasn't able to bring the ball out of play. And you can also see the average. You can see that the average position of those players, none of them are beyond the halfway line. That's how good our press was. None of them, in terms of average position, which has its flaws, but still, we'll use it as an indicator to show that of course, during the game, you would have seen them get beyond the halfway line, right? But the average time spent was within their own half. And again, the other thick lines they had were between Morgan Gibbs White and Anderson in their midfield. Again, 8 and 8 between them. So Gibbs White to Anderson, Anderson to Gibbs White. 16 times they passed to each other. So that's a good connection they have, actually. The other one is Milenkovic and Anderson. Again, Anderson is pretty much in the thick of things. 16 times, again, 8 and 8. So Anderson had a really good game and was the driving force for them. But we absolutely kept them at bay. A lot of their passes were side to side or backwards. Even Williams, who's supposed to be playing, who's their fullback, was having to pass. Wasn't able to really get beyond the halfway line as much as he would have liked. Of course, you would have seen in the half playing that he did do that a couple of times, but on average, he was very much within his own half. So again, highlighting just how well we played. Now look at our first of all, look at our average positions. Very much well into Forest half. Our furthest is probably Elanga, together now with Gordon, and then right in the middle, obviously, Nick Voltemade, right? In terms of the thick of the lines, in terms of where our biggest connections were, you can see again here, we talked about it, which was Trippier. So Trippier was very much, I think he might have had the most touches in this game as well. So he played in that hybrid role himself. He did play where he kind of had a kind of almost a free roaming role where he was able to connect the defense to the midfield with the attack. So, for instance, you can see here the biggest thick lines, the biggest connections between him and Elanga, between Trippier and Elanga for the whole 90 minutes. There were 28 passes between them two. Now, hear this. Remember, we're talking about passing forwards and passing backwards. Passing forwards, the assumption is obviously from Trippier to Elanga. Why I'm saying it's passing forwards, because Trippier is a right back. Passing forwards, we passing to Elanga, right? Of those 28 times, Trippier it was Trippier to Elanga 18 times. So about 2/3 of the time, Trippier is passing forwards to Elanga. So that's how much that's how, in terms of our progressive play, forward play, we were most of the time down the right side going forwards and not backwards. And that's reflected in our entries into the final third, passing accuracy in the final third, volume of passes in the final third, and our kind of overall positional dominance, territorial dominance. It shows you how forward we're going. So 28 times in total, Elanga and Trippier were passed to each other in the whole 90-minute game, right? 18 of those times, so nearly 2/3, Trippier to Elanga, whilst Elanga to Trippier, you'd assume is a backwards pass. But even then, you would know that Trippier sometimes advances further than Elanga, and they'll do a little 1-2. But let's just, for the sake of argument, almost to say Trippier might have been passed, Elanga might have been passing back to Trippier if he had nowhere to go, was 10 times. So real big connections there. The other big connection on that right side was Bruno Gomes and Trippier. 24 times they passed to each other through that whole game. Bruno to Trippier, 10 of those times. Trippier to Bruno, 14 of those times. Again, Trippier acting as a key link for Elanga and Bruno Gomes. The other time, equally, was not equally. Wow. Between Trippier and Tonali, 40 passes were made between the two of them. Between Trippier and Tonali. I actually put it in my notes. I don't know if you guys remember this. There's a period in the second half where Trippier and Tonali were doing headers, 1-2 headers over, I don't know if it was Nico Williams, over Nico Williams. It was crazy. Really good play. 40 times they passed to each other in a 90-minute period. 21 from Tonali to Trippier, and then 19 times from Trippier to Tonali. Fantastic. The other time is Malik Chow and Trippier at 19 times, Trippier to Chow, 7 times, Chow to Trippier. 12 of those times is also Trippier. was a really, really important connect to that. And on that right side, again, staying on that right side, Elanga obviously had that connection with Trippier, 28 passes between the two of them. And it's important for your advanced players, right? The other connection was Elanga and Tonali, 15 times between the two of them. Most of those passes, 11 of those passes were from Tonali to Elanga. Again, my assumption is that we're passing forward again in that sense as well. The other one is Elanga's connection with Bruno, 11 times during the whole game, fairly even, 5 and 6. Bruno 5 times to Elanga, Elanga 6 times to Bruno. Really, really good connections there as well. So that was important in terms of connecting that right side. I'm going to go to the left side because I really like what Botman was doing. And I don't know if you guys can see this, right? I want to really, really focus. This is why I really love watching Botman play, right? Look how many lines are coming from Botman. I know that this shows you just how important our build-up play is, right? And how Malik has got his own, but if you look at Botman, how many lines there is between Botman? Botman has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different players that he was passing to within that game. It's probably quite close in terms of touches in the match between Trippier and Botman. I think Trippier probably gets it there. Between Malik Chow and Botman, 18 times between the two of them. Chow to Botman, 11 of those times, Botman to Chow. So you can kind of see that as maybe side-to-side passes. Trippier to Botman even, 7 times. Botman and Tonali, 9 times for the 90-minute games. Most of the time, Botman finding, 5 out of those 9 times, Botman finding Tonali. 10 times Botman and Bruno were able to find each other. Bruno only ever once out of those 10 times passed to Botman. 9 out of 10 times it was Botman to Bruno, which is a very, very good sign in terms of our build-up play, right? We're looking forward. Bruno's able to advance forward, and you can see look how advanced Bruno is in terms of playing before. And again, we're playing a team that went into a mid-block. Who was playing in the mid-block to try and stop us, but they couldn't because we was able to advance. We was able to play through their lines using using Botman, using Chow, using Kieran Trippier, connecting with our midfield with Tonali, with Bruno, and obviously the Nick Voldemar, who's able to have that exceptional hold-up play himself. The other one is Burn. And obviously, Burn isn't as good as Hall, but you can see him again playing in advanced role, connecting at least 8 times with Joe Linton, 7 times with Gordon. But I'm sure Gordon can't wait for Lewis Hall to come back as well himself. And I thought, again, I'm going to talk Bruno a little bit today as well. We're kind of reviewing the team. Bruno, I thought had a really good game as well, had an improved game compared to what maybe we've seen before. But I want to say that also, no matter, even if Bruno's not having the greatest of game on the ball, his off the ball work is phenomenal. We're going to talk about some of his metrics this season as well. So Bruno, obviously in the advanced area, connecting as always with Tonali, 15 passes between him and Tonali, 9 from Bruno to Tonali, 6 from Tonali to Bruno. Connecting very well. Nick Voldemar, obviously our main striker. Who is he getting the connections? It's an interesting that Joe Linton again playing an advanced role right next to Nick Voldemar, but by the looks of it, didn't get one pass towards Voldemar. I don't know if that says more about Joe Linton or Nick Voldemar. I have no idea. But Joe Linton mainly connected with Gordon, 13 passes between the two of them. Nick Voldemar, who was supplying our forward? Well, it looks like mainly Bruno. So 7 passes out. They connected 9 times via passes through the whole game. 7 of those from Bruno to Voldemar. The other one is Voldemar and Trippier. Voldemar to Trippier. 6 out of those 7 times. Interesting. Voldemar and Elanga, 4 times they played to each other. So a little bit more, he wasn't fed as well as he was against USG, I think. But still, there were some avenues and people connecting up with him at least positionally and being around him. Joe Linton, Bruno being around him. which was really, really important. But overall, our passing game, our chance creations, the quality of our chances, our entries into the final third, our passing accuracy in the final third, our creativity, especially in the last two games where we've won, obviously 2-0 against Forest, 4-0 against USG. Not only showing a better attacking output from our team, but also a continued maintaining of our defensive performances, keeping clean sheets, which has been a hallmark of our season so far. So I wanted to share that with you guys. I went quite a length of it. I'm going to be talking about our season review in a moment, but overall, I thought we had a really good game. Did I have a man of the match for that? It's a difficult one. It is a really difficult one. I haven't thought about it that much in terms of who is the man of the match in that game. Probably it's between Bruno and Tonali for me and Botman. I'll go for Bruno just because he scored that worldie and he really worked hard, in my opinion. But Trippier's not too far from that as well. So we had really good key players in that game as well. So, yeah, but guys, let me know your thoughts on the game. I see already the chats are ringing off as well. So before we get to actually review the season and everything else, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. And as I've said as well, please do. We're going to be reviewing the season. Here's the link to send in your votes. Rank your best performing player for Newcastle United this season so far. So we played 10 games this season so far, 7 in the Premier League, 2 in the Champions League, 1 in the League Cup. In those 10 games, rank your top 5 players for Newcastle United. It's there. Click on it. Let us know, and I'll let you guys know who my best performing player is in the show as well. So let me see what you guys are saying in the chats before we start reviewing the season so far. Where did I leave from? Where are you guys? To Forest, where now? Yeah. Where are we? Yeah, here we go. We'll start from Adrian. You can get a water. Okie dokie. There's a really good quote as well from Bruno where they asked him about what he thought about the Malik Chow Botman partnership. And the first thing, I don't know if you guys seen it, the first thing that Bruno said was, I wish I had it to show you. The first thing he said was, remember they're just asking him, how do you find their partnership, their performance, right? And the first thing he said was, they're the future of Newcastle United. I love that. That was his opening sentence. They are the future of Newcastle United. And why that's important is, just in terms of, first of all, they are the future of Newcastle United. That's the quality. This is the vision that Paolo Maldini had for Malik Chow and Botman to play together at AC Milan. But by the grace of God, they're playing at Newcastle, right? Their age, their profiles, you've seen all their technical ability. But the other part of it was that Bruno said it, that one of the players said it, the captain said it, that he can see that just right off the bat, he can see, these guys this is it. This is exceptional. Absolutely. This is the future, and the future I'm proud of. He talked about Malik Chan not only being exceptional on the ball, but he said off the ball, like he's athletic, he's strong, his quick thought, like it's just, I thought I'd mention it because I thought it was a very telling remark that he made. That the first thing Bruno Guimaraes described him as the future of Newcastle United. And if other players can see in other players in their team, this is our future. This is like in a sense of like we're building something here. That's how I took it. That it came across as we're building. We have a future. There is a future. Look at the players that we have. I thought that was good to see, to hear, or to read actually. Adrian Pickett says that's Angel right there. Well, yeah, I didn't see Angel. For me personally, I didn't see the Angel. I.e., like I said, halfway line, inverted wingers until the 75th minute. And you're not even seeing the average positions here, do you? Like they're just playing mainly in their own half. So credit to us for that. Credit to us. Adrian says Trips should have been on that favorite player list. You're right. You're right, Adrian. You're right. You're right. I can't argue with that. I can't argue with that. I'm just thinking, can I edit it while I'm here? Can I edit it? Can I add Trippier while I'm with you guys? Or is it done? Edit. You see, you're making me look what you're doing. Here we go. So okay. So, oh yes, I'll put Trips. Sorry guys, if you've already voted, I think you can come back and vote again. Hold on. Sorry. I think Adrian's made the right call here. I do think Trippier should be there. So let me put him on. Let me put him on. Brilliant. All right, Trippier's there now. Trippier is there now. So guys, get to voting. Vote again, really, if you can. Aaron says, Burn has been great but Botman is just another level. He honestly is. Gives the team a different dimension, and we are just a better team with him in there. Chow and Botman are our starting CBs going forward. 1,000%. 1,000%. It's not going to be long before rivals start talking about it. And those who know already know. Bobby Fairview, good to see you, sir. God bless you. Big up Philip and the chat. I hope you're all doing well. Yes, sir. All the more for seeing you, sir. Did Nick mean that penalty? Oh, yes. Yeah, sorry, you saw me in the post. Yeah, I need to. Do you know what I was meant to do, actually? Before I speak too early, Bobby, I was meant to look at his penalties for Stuttgart and for, I think, was it Wolfsburg that he played before? Stuttgart and another team. Was it Wolfsburg or Bremen? I don't know. I'm going to look at his penalties before I answer that. My initial reaction is yes, just because of the way he did it. He's clinical, says Bobby. Anybody calculate his conversion rates? 42%, Bobby. I know that because that's part of the metrics I looked at today. He's on 42% currently. 42.5 or 7, something like that. Aaron Cave. Great questions, though. Aaron Cave. J7, for me, needs to be talked about as well. Yes, his touch and technical ability has let him down so far this season. And I wonder, Aaron, this maybe is a question for you. I bet you're going to answer, actually, before I even speak. I'm going to ask if you ask it. He hasn't hit the levels we expect of him. He's definitely can be upgraded on. Yes, Aaron. But I want to ask you this question, and anybody else can join in, is you can see we can see that he's playing in a slightly different position now. You can see him more advanced, right? He's almost like an advanced 8. I hesitate to call him a 10, right? Let's say advanced 8. Like we've just seen the average position here, right? For instance, and this isn't the first time we've seen. Remember Joe Linton, right? It's not the first time we've seen Joe Linton in this advanced position right next to the striker. Obviously, Nick Voldemar in the situation. It was the same thing against Bradford, and in other occasions, this is where he's playing. So I say that to say this. Are we just exposed is not the right word. Maybe the limitations of Joe Linton's ability in that advanced role, in a slightly different position, with slightly different responsibilities. And hence why we're now saying, we can clearly see when we see an upgrade, I think we need a different profile of player. I think Ramsey's been looked at as that player. I have a sneaky feeling he's the guy, and I think he can do it. Let me know if you think Ramsey's the guy, and also let me know what you think about that thought that maybe we're seeing, not that Joe Linton's technical ability is any worse, but that he just hasn't got the technical ability in that role, in those responsibilities. And if it's not Ramsey that you want as a player there, who would you go for? Aaron's. Oh, have I still? Yeah, I have still read that one. Sorry. Aaron says for him, Chow was man of the match. Don't blame you. I thought he had a really, really good game. All right, so let's talk about the season so far. A lot of metrics, a lot of numbers, but it's all good. It's all good, and I enjoyed doing it and preparing for it because, well, first of all, obviously, it's Newcastle United. How can you not enjoy it? But I also like, I'm keen, like, I can't wait to hear what you guys think, get your thoughts, get your context on the whole thing in terms of where Newcastle are at. And again, remember, folks, send in your votes. Let me see how many people have voted so far. Da, 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 da. How many folks have voted so far? How many of you guys have voted so far? Okay, so we've got, let me show you. So you guys, we've had 3 people vote so far. Guys, let's do it. We've got more people in the chat. We've got more people viewing the show live. Send in your votes. I'm going to show, this is your best performing players. Rank your best performing players in the season so far. And so far we have Tonali leading the way. How is it going? Tonali leading the way with Bruno second, Voltamaris joint second with Bruno, then Pope, then Livramento. 5th is Burn. 6th is Trippier, and to be fair to Trippier, I put him on late. So, guys, keep sending in your votes as well. It's very easy to do. Very, very easy to do. Adrian says he voted twice. Guys, you're welcome to vote twice, honestly. It is my fault. You're welcome to vote twice. Aaron says, I agree, Philip. I feel Ramsey can come in and combine better next to Voltamada. My only issue is his output. It has to improve. I think it will. I still feel we need a specialist attacking midfielder who can break the low blocks. Have you got any thoughts as to who that could be, Aaron? Let me know. Let me know. All right, so let me get a drink of water. Newcastle United's last. We're going to review Newcastle's season so far. That's 10 games, 7 in the Premier League, 3 cup competitions, 2 in the Champions League, and 1 in the League Cup. Some of the metrics are for the Premier League alone, so I'm going to make sure I point that out so it doesn't. It's just how it's turned out to be. So I'm going to keep you guys appraised of that kind of. So you guys are aware of where it's at as well. So, okay. The first thing I want to talk about is our current, where we are compared to last season. I'm going to have to take off the chat just for a moment on the screen so I can explain what I'm seeing, what I'm showing, excuse me. Where are you? Okay, brilliant. So currently, obviously this is our current. This is from last season. So last season, after 7 games, Newcastle. This is 24-25 last season. This season, obviously, just before we go. So this season after 7. Let me first say this season after 7 games. Let me just. Where is it? I went straight into last season. Let me just go backwards. So just a reminder before we go into last season. Let me take this off first. So take this off. Let me show you what I mean before we get into that. Because I'm going to compare us, obviously, in the league, where we are so far last season, this season compared to last season. And then we'll go into last season and kind of explain things a little bit. So let me make sure you guys can see that. Can you see that? Not yet, because I'm not showing it. Okay, brilliant. So this is this season, right? So far this season, it shouldn't have been on the board, which is annoying. Maybe I deleted it by accident. But we're currently 11th. We've played 7 games. We've won 2, drawn 3, lost 2. With a +1 goal difference, 6 goals scored, 5 goals conceded, right? So we're on 9 points. So just keep that in mind. It should have been on the slide, which is annoying. I thought it was. I think I deleted it by accident, to be honest. So into this season, or into last season, excuse me, 24-25 season, last year, after 7 games, we have played 7 games, obviously. This is in the league alone. We played 1 league game. We weren't in the Champions League. We played 1 league game at this stage. So we played 8 games as opposed to at this stage rather than the 10 games, right? Because we didn't play in the Champions League. But in the league of 24-25 season, matches played 7. We won 3 great games. We drawn 3. We lost 1 game. We scored 8 goals, so 2 more goals compared to last season, and conceded 7 goals, 2 more than last season. Interesting again, with a goal difference of 1. So we've got the same goal difference, but we've conceded more and scored more. No, we conceded less and scored less this season. So the same goal difference, but we've conceded less goals and we've scored less goals as well. The main difference is that we've lost 1 extra game compared to last season. So this time that time last season we had 12 points as opposed to 9 points. But in context of all of that, we've played 10 games this season as opposed to 8 games last season as well. So that's the first thing to show. And as a reminder of the games that we played, if you guys remember the first 7 games we played last season, it was, and I kind of wanted, this is where I'm going to go into the XG and kind of compare ourselves to last season. The last season, and before I get kind of it, I think while I'm looking at it last season, I want to show, kind of continue to add context to it, is the first 7 games, if you guys remember, Southampton, we got the red card with Shaw. We won 1-0. Southampton got a player sent off. Bournemouth won 1 away draw. We beat Tottenham 2-1 at home. We beat Wolves 2-1 away. We lost to Fulham at home 3-1. We drew Man City 1-1. And we drew with Everton 0-0. And Gordon missed a penalty in that game as well. So that was our first 7 games. I mentioned that to add a little bit more context is that you guys will know, obviously, in the 7 games that we've just played, we're going to talk about it as well. Actually, it is here. The slide is here. So that's annoying. This is the slide from last season. This is the slide for this season. I want to compare this as well. The other, compared to our fixture list in the Premier League, with the only, if you want to, well, I was going to say the only top 6 I ever played was City, but we played City and Tottenham. Whereas obviously this season we played Liverpool and Arsenal. So actually it's fairly even start actually in terms of Premier League. I think the key difference for us is that we played 2 more games as opposed to the 8 games of last season as well. So that's where we are in terms of games played in the league at this time of last season as well. The other thing I wanted to compare to last season, obviously, and what I wanted to focus on was, the main thing I wanted to focus on was, we've got 3 points less to last season. We've lost one game more. But I also want to focus on the goals scored and the goals conceded, right? So we scored 2 more goals compared to last season, but we conceded 2 more goals as well. And we've maintained the same goal difference as well. And that leads me on to the discussion around XG, because we talked about it as well in terms of our performance, because so far, obviously, we've got 3 points less. We've lost more game as well. So you kind of get the feeling or you kind of get the impression so far is, well, it's difficult to say what the impression is. I don't know what you guys' impression is so far, but in terms of point output, we're behind, right? But if we're adding context, we've played 2 more games, and obviously in the Champions League as well. I want to add further context to that as well, which is our XG in that 24-25 season as well. So if we're looking at last season, is 24-25 season, where we've scored 8 goals, but if you look at XG here at the top, we could have scored nearly 12 goals, so 11.95, right? So at this stage last season, we're underperforming. We're underperforming our XG by at least minimum nearly 4 goals. Nearly 4 goals. We're underperforming our XG at this time last season. So you can say, in fact, I think it's fair to say, attacking wise, Newcastle were putting up far greater numbers last season, attacking wise and creativity wise, as opposed to this season, where we actually, like I said, we actually scored 8 goals last season at this stage in the Premier League. Where we at this stage now we scored 2 more goals, but also we're outperforming. If we look at our XG of that 24-25 season, we're actually underperforming it by 4 goals as well. So our attacking output and our creativity was really good. And I don't know if you guys remember this. Is what's also interesting is that we're not, I won't say moaning, but it was concerns around, we're not performing that well, we're going to get found out, and this, that, and the other. But we're actually performing fairly well in terms of our attacking output. It's our defensive output where we had some concerns around our defense. So we had already conceded 7 goals in 7 games. So we're very much in the category of conceded 1 goal per game. So we're always having to score a goal or at least 2 goals to win games itself. I think that's where the concern was. And if you looked at our XG against, our total XG against, we should have conceded, or not should have, but we could have conceded nearly 9 goals. Right? So merely we could have at least conceded, we conceded 7 goals, we could have conceded nearly 9 goals as well. So what that's telling us is when XG is 8.87, but actual goals we got is goals conceded against was 7. We are you can say that our defense at that time was fairly lucky. We're fairly lucky not to have conceded 9 goals instead of 7. So it isn't that our defensive system is really good. It's because our defense, and it's because our opponents have not been clinical. Had our opponents been clinical, we would have conceded 9 goals instead of the 7. Right? If that's making sense. And had our attacking output been more clinical, we would have scored 12 goals instead of the 8 instead. So in terms of attack, yes, we're scoring goals, 8 goals, but we are underperforming in our attack by at least 4 goals, right? So that was one issue. We were underperforming. Gordon missed penalty and other chances that we had. And in defense, we were fairly lucky not to have conceded more goals as opposed to what the goals we actually conceded. And that's where the concern was from the fan base, was that we're the thing that we're getting at this time last season is we're kind of getting away with it, where our defense isn't that great and our attack is underperforming, but we're managing to get the result. So that was the kind of feeling that we're getting. We're kind of somewhere in the middle. Something's got to give. Either we get better defensively and we improve defensively and in our attack and continue to improve, or the fear was our luck defensively runs out and we can start conceding goals and our attacking output doesn't improve and we start sliding down the table because we're losing games. So that was the concern that we were having last season, even though we have 3 more points compared to this season, obviously speaking in hindsight, and our XG is showing that in terms of attacking that we know that we could even score even more goals. So that was the concern around where we were at the time, but which is interesting after 7 games. And obviously we had 1 league game, I think it was against Man City actually, that we qualified as well. So hold this in mind. I'm going to keep coming back to this. I almost feel like I should start with our goals, our season this far. So let me start this season. This season, obviously, Newcastle, let me take down this chat first so I can see it. So this season, obviously, Newcastle are. Oh, I've got my banner in the way now, guys. Remember to vote for your. This is the link to for you guys to be able to vote for your best performing player so far this season. Right. So Newcastle are currently in 11th position this season. As mentioned, obviously, we've played 7 games. We've won 2, one less than last season. We've drawn 3. We've lost 2. We've scored 6 goals so far this season. We've conceded 5 with a goal difference of 1. Okay, so if you compare it just in terms of those metrics so far, we're 3 points behind last season. We've lost 1 more game compared to last season. We've scored 2 less goals compared to last season, and we've conceded 2 less goals compared to last season, right? So that kind of shows you just on those metrics, our defense appears to be better, our attack appears to be worse because we're scoring less goals, and our results are, in terms of points on the board, we're 3 points behind the team last season. So let's drill down into that and look. I'm going to use XG. I know there's different metrics you can use for the sake of just time and argument. I'm using XG as my indicator for where Newcastle are at so far. So what do the XGs tell us? So before we get into that, so we've obviously before we get into the XG, it's just to add, obviously, so far in the league alone, we've obviously played Villa away, Liverpool at home, Leeds away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth at home, Bournemouth away, where we drew, Arsenal at home when we lost, and Forest just now where I think so far probably output and performance wise, Forest was probably our best game, probably followed by Liverpool, even though we lost that game, right? So that's the teams that we played. If you look at our XG, Newcastle's total XG so far this season in terms of attacking output is at 10.39. So there's an argument to say that had Newcastle been more clinical, instead of having 6 goals, Newcastle could have 10 goals. So we're underperforming our XG by 4 goals so far this season. We are underperforming our XG by 4 goals this season, which isn't too dissimilar to last season, for instance, where again we scored 8 goals and our XG was around 11 goals. So if you go back to last season, as we talked about, where is it? Very similar. Our XG at this point was nearly 12. So nearly 12 goals last season was our XG, but we scored 8 goals, right? So we weren't as clinical. Whereas opposed this season, we've scored our XG is 10 goals. So our XG is even lower. So our creativity so far in the Premier League alone is by 2 goals, 2 XGs lower compared to last season, and our actual goals are 2 goals lower compared to last season. So what I'm saying is actual attacking output is lower. Creative output so far is lower in comparison to last season by 2 goals in XG and by 2 goals in actual goals for this season as well. So our attacking output is lower. Looking at our defensive output, we've conceded 2 less goals against in comparison to last season, where we conceded 7 goals in 7 games in the Premier League alone, right? Whereas this season, we've conceded 5 goals in the Premier League from 7 games so far this season. And if you look at our opponents' XG, their total XG of our opponents this season, right, from those 7 games is at 5.16. So what that should let you know, since our XG is 5.16, and the goals we've conceded is 5 goals, what that lets you know is that it is not by luck. It is not by luck that Newcastle have conceded, that our defensive output is higher. What it tells you is that Newcastle have a very good, I would say, very close to an elite defensive system. It's by design. It is very much intentional. It is not luck. It is by intention, by strategy, premeditated, whatever it is, that Newcastle have conceded 5 goals. It's because that is how good our performances have been defensively. We have a very good defensive system. So, for example, if Newcastle conceded 5 goals, but the XG of our opponents is 10, for instance, not 5, what that tells you is not that Newcastle have a good defensive system, is that Newcastle are very, very lucky not to have conceded 10 goals this season. They've conceded 5, but the XG of their opponents is 10. Newcastle, there's a very high probability that Newcastle are getting away with it, and at some point, the goals conceded will catch up with the XG of their opponents. So, in that scenario, but what this is telling you is that the opponent's XG at 5.16 and our actual goals conceded at 5 is telling you there's only a 0.16 of a difference, which is almost like immaterial. And what it's telling you is you probably couldn't get any closer, that the XG of our opponents, what the chances that our opponents are creating against our team in comparison to the goals we've conceded are very much level. And what that's telling you is that it is by design. This is how Newcastle aren't lucky. This is our defensive output. This is our defensive structure. Our defensive system is that good, and you can see it in the games that we've played so far. We played away to Villa in the first game. We had 1.43 XG. They had 0.23 in terms of creating chances against us. That's at Villa. Liverpool, we had the higher XG, obviously, though we lost the game. We had the higher XG at 0.98. Neither of us really were creating 2 clearer chances. Liverpool had 0.69. At Leeds, away, we had the lower XG. Leeds are the first, had 0.69. Again, very, very low. Wolves, obviously, we beat Wolves 1-0. They had 0.5 XG chances they were creating, right? Low. Bournemouth 0.46, even though ours was 0.14, right? That's the worst attacking output that we've seen this season, right? Was at Bournemouth away. The other one is Arsenal 0.61. That was the other one at home. That probably, again, attacking out wise was probably our poorest game, especially at home. Whereas Arsenal so far this season have created the highest XG out of those 7 teams against us, which was 2.04. And now, obviously, Forest game, we were back to normal in terms of XG conceded, 0.34. Forest are like second lowest opponent in terms of XG against us, whereas this is the highest XG we created at 3.82 so far this season. So what it's telling you so far, if you look at the XG, just even by case, game by game basis, unless you're Arsenal really, no other team has really created clear-cut chances or expected a XG against us, right? In terms of probability, quality of chances against us, right? So what it's showing, I know that Liverpool scored 3 goals, but what that's telling you, that's almost like an outlier. Newcastle don't typically concede 3 goals, and that's shown in the actual results that we've seen. And you can see that after we conceded those 3 goals, we kind of went back to 0-0s, clean sheets, and everything else. And actually, our clean sheets so far this season, was Villa, Leeds, Wolves, Bournemouth, and now Forest. In the league alone, we've got 5 clean sheets, right? Not including the Champions League. We've got. Do we have a clean sheet? I haven't got a clean sheet in the Champions League, but we've got a clean sheet in the League Cup. So we've got 6 clean sheets out of 10 games so far this season. So our defensive output so far this season has been our hallmark, right? So I hope I'm making sense of what I'm saying so far. So we've got, like as you said, Adrian, yeah, we've got solid foundation. No wonder Party fancies us. Exactly. No wonder Party fancies us for the league so far. And what do you guys make of that so far? I mean, what do you guys make of that so far? So if I'm concluding where we are, I'm going to talk about our cup competitions in a moment as well, but how essentially, in comparison to last season, right? We are underperforming our attacking output in terms of our creativity, right? But we're also not creating as much. If you look at our XG, we're 2 XG less than compared to last season. We're also 2 goals less as well compared to last season, right? So our attacking output, especially in the league, does need to improve. I think there's signs that it is improving with the fact that we beat Forest just now, 2-0, and that's on the back of the Champions League 4-1 defeat of USG. Was it 4-0 defeat? Was it? Did we beat them 4-0? It was 4-0 we beat them. So, and again, we've got a small sample size, right? But it's showing you that I feel like Newcastle are taking us our attacking output is about to rise. It was going like that, and it's just about to slowly rise. That's where I'm kind of seeing it. But our defense, and as Adrian said, is the hallmark, is our hallmark. We have an exceptional defense in comparison to last season. Where the feeling last season was that we're getting away with it. Yes, we're getting the results. We've got 12 points. We're 6th in the league, but we're pretty lucky in terms of teams aren't finishing their chances off, and it's very much the case. And it bears out in terms of XG, where last season, as we talked about, yes, we've conceded 7 goals, but we're lucky not to have conceded 9, right? Whereas this season, we've conceded 2 less goals, 5 goals, but it's not lucky. It's very much by design. And so my feeling is, should Newcastle continue to maintain the high standards, defensive standards, and improve on the attacking output, I think the overall trajectory is looking really good. It's looking quite healthy for Newcastle, in my opinion, so far. So, as Adrian says, there's some solid foundations there for us, right, in terms of what's going on. So, if you just look at it that way, I'm quite pleased. I wish I actually talked about our season starting this season and then go compared to last season, but it's fine. I guess what I'm saying is that we're not as good so far attacking wise last season compared to last season, but we are better defensively, and we are on our way to being better in terms of our attack as well. Aaron says the foundations are definitely there. We just need to build on what we have. Exactly. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk a bit about that, why I feel like we are building on what we have a little bit later on in the show. So just to add where we are in terms of our cups, obviously we talked about it. We've played 10 games so far this season. If you add the 2 Champions League games and the EFL Cup, that's 2 games more in comparison to last season. right? So that has to be taken into consideration in terms of obviously our output on the pitch. The good thing about that is that we've got the players and the squad to do that. I'm going to talk about our squad rotation later in the show, but I wanted to make sure that we mentioned our cup performances so far this season. Obviously, we lost 2-1 at home to Barcelona, but we beat USG away 4-0, which is a good victory, and obviously keeps our hopes alive in terms of qualifying in the Champions League stage. And obviously, we've progressed from the third round to the fourth round of the League Cup after beating Bradford City fairly comfortably at home, 4-1 at home as well. And it's good to see that we're scoring goals, especially a lot of goals, especially in the cup competitions themselves. So that was positive to see. And if you look at the XG, our XG so far in the cup competitions, this is the cup competitions in total. So this is Champions League and EFL together, the League Cup together, right? So that's 3 games so far this season, which is that's what we're looking at. Our total goals in those 3 competitions, in those 3 games that we played, is 9. The total we've conceded so far is 3. It goes back to our defense as well, which is really, really good. Our total XG is at 8.71, so not too far in terms of our XG for us, right? So we're kind of getting what we're putting in. You know what they say, you get in life what you put in. In terms of our attacking output, we're not too far from what we're our XG. We're getting fairly much. We're nearly there in terms of we're getting from our output, our attacking output, what we're putting in, right? So those 9 goals aren't a fluke. We're not exceptionally lucky. We're not hitting balls from the halfway line and get them in. We're not kind of having balls deflecting from 3 or 4 players going in and crosses that are supposed to be crosses turning into goals. No, our attacking output by design is working. Our attacking system, the way we attack in our cup so far, 2 Champions League games and the League Cup, is matching up with our output. Our XG is nearly matching up with our output. We're just outperforming it slightly by 0.29, which is a margin of error. It's not too bad at all, right? And our defensive output, so yes, we've conceded the 3 goals, but our opponents have only been able to muster 2.37 XG. So our opponents have outperformed by 0.63 in terms of the actual XG. So really, what that's saying is that I feel like in terms of 0.63%, like our opponents are outperforming their XG against us. And if I'll look at the Barcelona game, right? That Rashford rocket was what separated us from them. If that was a bit of a worldie, a bit like how Bruno's goal today was a worldie against Forest, right? And there wasn't much separating us as teams. I don't know if I got the individual XGs in those games. I might not have it, but I think from what I remember, Barcelona's XG wasn't too far from ours, right? So again, defensively, we're doing really well. And actually, our attacking output is a lot better in cup competitions in comparison to where we are in the league. And that's what, again, that's part of what gives me confidence for us going forward, that we'll maintain our defensive output whilst improving our attacking output in the league as well. So, but the other thing that's going to give me confidence is our squad and our squad rotation, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later on. So there's a lot of good. If we're just looking at XG, I know there's other metrics you can look at, but I'm looking at XG. I'm looking at that to kind of give me as an indicator, and you guys are going to add obviously the context of where Newcastle are at. So we're definitely in a healthy spot in terms of our cup competitions. Even though we've played two more games, I feel like Newcastle as a whole, league and cups together, are performing really well. Not just well, but really well. If you take it all together so far, with obviously notes, with kind of the main kind of notes and footnotes around, we've got to continue the improvement in terms of our attacking output and maintain our defensive output so far. But we've got the system and the structure and the players to be able to do that. But what gives me confidence is that, so that I feel like we've got a good foundation. And what gives me confidence that we'll continue to build on that foundation, we're going to talk about it in a moment. Oh, I've revealed who my player is so far. Before we get into that, we're going to talk about squad rotation a little bit later on. But guys, if you haven't already voted, at least let me know in the chat who's been your best performing Newcastle performing players so far this season. Let's see if we've got any more votes so far. If you've been watching, you'll know who I've got as my best performing player. But let me see who you guys have got. Make sure I put it on here. Share screen. And we'll see, where do the folks at Toon Tactics TV, where are you guys? Where have you guys got it? Brilliant. So we've got 6 people who voted. Some of you voted twice. God bless you. But let me know in the chat. Okay, so let's see what we've got. Have I got it here? All right, so let me take that away. So number 1, Tonali. So far, our 10 games this season, Newcastle, we've ranked Tonali as number 1 best performing player for Newcastle United, followed by Nick Voltemada, then third by Bruno G, 4th is Pope, 5th is Livramento, 6th is Byrne, and 7th is Trippier. So you guys have let it known. 6 of you, at least 6 of you have put, because everybody's done the rankings. 6 of you, all 6 of the people that have voted have put Tonali first. 3 of you put, 1 of you put Voltemada first. 3 of you put Tonali, and then 3 of you put Voltemada as second, and 2 of you put Voltemada as third. Bruno G, for instance, 0 of you put him as number 1. 2 of you put him as number 2. 2 of you put him as number 3. 0 is number 4. 1 of you put him as 5th best. So far, Tonali is the Toon Tactics community so far player of the season. So who's mine so far? And as Adrian says, they've all been good. They've all been we're splitting hairs here, really. Honestly, they've all been good. You're right, Adrian. They've all been good. And we're splitting hairs. For me, I've got Nick Voltemada. I've got Nick Voltemada as our player of the season so far. And it's for these following reasons and these metrics that have been really impressive with him so far this season. So overall, he's had 7, with all the games so far, he's had 7 appearances, right, out of those 10 games in his first season at Newcastle United. And obviously, he wouldn't have made those 7 appearances had Wissa not been injured, right? But coming over from the Bundesliga, coming over from Germany, his first time living in England, his first time in the Premier League, he's made 7 appearances, 4 goals in all competitions. 3 goals in the Premier League, so 3 out of 7, and 1 goal in the Champions League, 1 out of 2 games. He's currently got a 0.89 goals per game. So at the moment, he's very likely to score a goal in whatever games he's playing, which we're seeing, which is really good. With a 0.57 XG per game. So at the moment, his goals tally is outperforming his XG, which is pretty high as well. So, which is really good to see a player outperforming his XG. The main key question for him is, can he maintain it? Can he maintain this for the next 10 games, right? Which could put him at, maybe out of, if you put him at what, 8, maybe 10 games, 10 goals out of 20 so far. If he carries on, can that form maintain? But so far, it's good to see him overperforming, which is positive to see. And he's on 42.86% shot conversion rate. I think it was Bobby Fairview that asked about his conversion rate, and it was Bobby actually who mentioned conversion rates to me before this. Before he was when he was looking at strikers, he's always looking at shot conversion rates. That's a good indicator for Bobby. And Voldemort is one of the highest. Funnily enough, Voldemort isn't the highest shot conversion rate in Newcastle. It's Bruno Gomes who's got the highest shot conversion rate, but that's because he's got that one goal in that worldie. So you can see how stats can be a bit funny. But nevertheless, Voldemort has got 42.86% shot conversion rate, which is really, really good. And he's got 80, and this is what I wanted to know, is that he's got 85.2% successful pass accuracy rate for an attacker. Now, someone might say, well, that could just mean that he's passing backwards and he's playing it safe. But then if you go in, which could have been true, but if you add this to the following metric, final third passing. So passing into the final third, and I think there's also one I forgot to add, actually, passing in the final third, passing accuracy in the final third, which is also 70 plus. But final third passing is at 79.3%, which shows you that he is able to help Newcastle maintain control and dictate tempo in the opponent's final third, in the opponent's half. And we've seen it in terms of how he brings others into play. He should have an assist or two, had other people taken their chances at this stage as well. But he brings our play into the opponent's half. He helps us to break down those dastardly mid blocks that have been plaguing us. And his ability to hold off defenders, his strength is really, really impressive. That was one of the questions we had, is when he came in, is to say, look, my friend, this isn't the Bundesliga, this is the Premier League where nobody cares about your feelings. He's taken that and he's absolutely been able to show how strong he is playing in the Premier League, and he's done absolutely phenomenally well. And that his passing accuracy, playing in the opponent's half, shows you just how well he's been doing. So for me, taking all that into consideration, the fact that, it's his first time in the Premier League, his first time living in England, having to hit the ground running, because obviously the main striker, who's supposed to be Wissa, isn't playing. His goal, and it's been phenomenal, but also his goals have been very, very important to us. The 1-0 victory against Wolverhampton, where else did he have the ball skip my mind now? Obviously, the goal, the opening goal against USG, the penalty against Nottingham Forest. Who else did he score against? Obviously, scored against Arsenal as well. That was important for us, but we lost the game. But he's scoring goals that are earning us points on the board. It's changing goals. Goals change games. And is scoring important goals for us that are changing games into Newcastle's favour. So taking all of that into consideration is the reason why I've got Nick Voldemort as my player of the season so far. But the Toon community has spoken and said it's Tonali. And Tonali's been absolutely phenomenal himself as well. And if I had the time, I would have been able to show his statistics as well. So he was ball carrying ability, especially passing, final third entries and stuff like that has been really, really good. what I would like to see more for Tonali is what he does for Italy, score winning goals and game changing goals. What Bruno did on Sunday against Nottingham Forest is to add those game changing goals into his repertoire, and then maybe I'm being harsh, I don't know, but I think that is what will clinch it for me. Even though whether if both for me, Nick and Tonali are both very central players to how we play as well. So so that's my vote, Nick Voltamada. You guys have voted for Tonali. I've noticed that some of you said we voted for Tonali twice, voted for some of you have voted twice or something like that. Either way, thank you guys for voting. You've been absolutely phenomenal in that as well. So before I kind of continue on and in terms of talking about our season review as well, and kind of adding why I think we have not only have we got a strong foundation, but why I'm quietly confident that we will see it continue. Let me see what you guys are saying in the chat. Oh, Bobby Fairview. I was wondering if you'd remember when we had that shot conversion rate discussion window. Honestly, I've kept that in mind, Bobby. I have kept that in mind. And just like you said, I can't remember what numbers he gave me for Nick. I remember they were high though. I think it was higher than Isak. Correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby. But he's continued. As you can see, he's continued. And this is just the league alone, Bobby. Right? It's not for the 10 games, it's for the 7 games in the league. So he's actually also he's taken 2 shots per game so far. I would like him at 3, that shot volume, because I think he'll probably score more goals should he continue shot conversion rate. He's currently taking at least 2 shots per game. I'd love to see what happens if he starts taking 3 shots per game as well. So that'll be phenomenal to see. Oh, and you just said Nick was around 24%. Wiss and Isak were around 23%. So he's already higher than them. So Bobby, and that actually kind of matches up with how his current goal rate is. He is outperforming his XG. So he is outperforming his usual metrics as well. But who's to say that he's not played in a better team or with profile of players that are helping him to be in positions to score more goals and to even improve on his shot conversion rate? I think we'll find that out in the next 10 games, cups and league cups as well. But however you look at it, or however I look at it, it's a good start. But yeah, thanks for that, Bobby. And yeah, I've ever since we had that conversation, I've kept that in mind. Aaron says, when Voltamada fully adapts, we are going to have a very scary player. And I was thinking that when I was watching us. That's a really good point, Aaron. I was thinking that when I was watching him against Forest, I was thinking, he's such a Newcastle United player. We just didn't know it. He's such a big, physical, strong, technical, intelligent, mobile, bringing others into play. And you can see that. Okay, there's 2 factors into this. In terms of what I was going to say is, why the players like Bruno, for instance, and Joe Linton are so much more comfortable playing in advanced positions, I think are confident that not only are they going to get the balls from the defensive line, but they can hold the ball through Nick Voltamada. There will be little one-touch passes, advanced balls in behind the players. And if you're Ilanga, if you're Gordon, you're making those runs as soon as those balls come whizzing into the midfield area, because it's either Big Nick can collect it and pass it on through balls over the tops, or Bruno, a bit less of Joe Linton, but he's trying. And you can just see it. You can just see it that the foundations are there. Bobby says, I told you that was some good business. It's certainly looking like it. You're absolutely right. Whistle will hit the ground running too. He's a veteran. We have to wait till November for that one. But yes, I'm looking forward to it. Aaron says, when Voltamada... Oh, no, sorry, I read that one. Yes. Adrian says, our German duo have slotted in brilliant. For a moment, I was thinking, what German duo? Oh, yeah, Malik Chow. Yeah, they've been brilliant. And look, I'll put it this way. If 50% is down to them and their application and their hard work, but I think 50% and possibly even more is down to the fact that Eddie Howe, our club, our team, is for me is beyond the coincidence at this stage where we don't have, guys, we don't have too many duds in terms of players that come into the club. Yes, scouting. Yes, that. But I also think it's our environment that we have in the club, right? And for Walter Messi, as says Adrian here, to come in like that, Malik Chow, first time in England, first time in the Premier League, our system, our profile of players, our scouting, our work environment, Eddie Howe, his team, all of these things give a player the tools to thrive in this league. Honestly, that is my belief. And I just think it's just beyond. It's beyond doubt for me that that's the case. And yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Right. So I want to go back to, but kind of go forward to. Obviously, we talked about where Newcastle are now in terms of this season. Where if you're just looking at the league alone, our attacking output, goals scored is less compared to last. So overall, our attack, in conclusion, is our defense is supreme. Our attack can improve, and there is suggestions that it will improve if you look in especially the last couple of games in Nottingham Forest, USG, and a couple of others. If you look at that, we've won. That it will improve, but the other key factor for me gives me confidence that we'll build on this. We talked about that we've played 2 more games as opposed to compared to last season, right? And my concern was going into the season is how we're going to deal with the extra competitions, right? And obviously we've got a small sample and I'm not going to get carried away with it. But what gives me confidence is in terms of that we'll continue to improve and get better in our foundations. And you guys have seen this before, is our improvement in our squad, in our overall squad rotation. Now, what you guys are seeing here is as you guys know, how I do squad rotations is I look at the minutes played. So the more a player spends on the pitch, for me, is a sign of how important they are and what the squad rotation is and what the depth of that squad rotation is in the league. So we've played 10 games. That amounts to around, I think it was 900 minutes, right? If you look at it as 90-minute games, obviously it's not included in injury times and everything else. So it's probably a little bit more than 900 minutes. So 10, but just for the sake of argument, 10 90-minute games, which is 900 minutes. I've broken that down into from players that played from 775 minutes to 900 minutes as being as the players that we depend on the most. They pretty much play nearly every game with very little and play almost every minute of those games, right? So even when the subs come on, these guys are probably the last players that Eddie Howe would look to change, or would at least delay the change as late as possible because they are that important to the team in those games, right? Then you've got the core squad, who are still pretty much the first team players, but would get rotated out for whatever reason, not necessarily bad performances, but for whatever reason, would get rotated out during games, or sometimes even during different cup competitions and everything else like that. Those are the players that are most likely to get rotated out. Then you've got the key rotational players. So those are players that don't necessarily start every game, but are certainly the players that would be used in terms of rotations in games as subs, or as players that would come in, after, if a player's played 2-3 games in 8 days, by the time the fourth game comes along, this player would probably replace them for that period of time to give that player rest. So these are the key rotational players. And then you've got the squad players. Again, these are the supplements, the players that supplement the squad and come in when needed. First rounds of League Cup games and things of that nature, right? Now, I wish I had showed you the slide of last season when Newcastle ended up. But just to remind you guys, of this, before I get into the details of this, but just to remind you of what happened last season. Last season, Newcastle had 15 players. Bearing in mind, you obviously need 11 players for a first team. Newcastle had 15 players who played 1,000 minutes or more. Obviously, 1,000 minutes is my arbitrary number to say this person is, at least at the minimum, is a squad player for Newcastle United. Anything below that, it's not really worth counting. They had 15 players. One of those out of those four players that were helped in the rotation was a goalkeeper. We had poor rotation up front. Obviously, Wilson was injured a lot. The best rotation we had was in the midfield, where we had 6 players for 3 positions. But otherwise, in the centre-back area, where obviously Botman was injured, we didn't have a right centre-back apart from Jamal Lascelles. We were, essentially what I'm saying is that we were not in great shape in terms of rotation, in terms of having a squad, and a squad that had depth and quality. What we have now, and part of the reason is obviously is injuries, right? Obviously, we recruited more players. We recruited 6 players, with I think a number of players that were sold, but we recruited 6 players to add to that depth and quality. We've also had players within our squad before those players were brought in, i.e. the likes of Botman and Miley, but Botman for injury reasons, Miley I think for his development, who I would say were underused and who are now very prominent in this squad right now. So for instance, Botman is part of our core squad at this moment in time, which is phenomenal to see from where he has been last season. I don't think Botman even played 500 minutes last season. He's already done that this season. He's already played more than 500 minutes, which is phenomenal. Miley, who's now part of I think he's part of the key rotational players. Where is he? He's played 288 minutes. He played less than 500 minutes again last season. He's well on his way to breaking that. I think hopefully we'll see him play much more. So I wanted to mention that, which is, yes, there's players that we brought in, but there's also players that were already in our squad that were underused for whatever reason, injuries, development, not quite ready, or not performing, who are now used and now adding to that squad and squad quality and depth and quality. So I wanted to kind of lay that context to it, which is last year. So 15 players we had essentially as part of our squad quality and depth, which is not good. And if you compare it, we compared it to Bayer Leverkusen and Liverpool, who had 19 players. I think between 17 and 19 players that played 1,000 minutes and more. Bayer Leverkusen had gone invincible in their league, won their PKFO, their version of the FA Cup essentially, and reached the final of the Europa League. Liverpool obviously won the league. So it shows you how important it is to have a squad, as we know already on the show, how important it is to have a squad that's got not only depth, but depth and quality. So I say all that to say this. And I understand as well, to add context, this is 10 games. This isn't 40 plus games, 50 plus games. This is 10 games, right? So it is a small sample size. So it's not me saying this is going to be like this forever. Hopefully it is, but it's me saying that the foundations are there that we spoke about earlier. But why I'm quietly confident that we'll continue to build on this, and it's for this reason. Bearing in mind, again, last year, like I said, 15 players played 1,000 minutes or more, right? We had very little rotation to no rotation in the forward lines, and similar to our defensive lines, right? The best rotation we had was in the midfield. This season, with a maximum of 900 minutes played, 900 plus minutes played if you count injury time from 10 games, right? We have making up, if you just add, for instance, high dependency, core squad, and key rotational players. So that's 4 players here. Let me take off the comment. I think there's 6 players from the thing. Let me take it off here. So yeah, 4 players high dependency, plus 6 players from core squad. So make up our first team essentially. So that's 10 players already. You add a further 7 players from key rotational from the key rotational mark, players that are played between 225 to 499 minutes this season. Newcastle have 17 players. 17 players that they can rotate, that they've been rotating and they've been using all together. So if, for instance, if we look at compared to what we had of the whole of last season, which was 15 players, and one of them being a goalkeeper. Why is it so different this season? If you look at the context of it, I'm not even counting the squad just yet, right? I'm going to talk about the squad. But if you look at the rotational players, right, we've got how many centre backs? Malik Chow makes up that part of that. Malik Chow, Fabian Shaw, who was high dependency player last season. Malik Chow, Fabian Shaw. So you've got 2 key rotational players. Defensive, you've got 2 CBs who make up the key rotational players. If you look at the forward players, Nick Voltemada, Harvey Barnes, Jacob Murphy. So 3 forwards, 2 centre backs. How many midfielders? So let me go back to the forwards. Nick Voltemada, Harvey Barnes, Jacob Murphy, William Osula. 4 forwards, 2 centre backs, and where is the midfielder? Lewis Miley makes up the one midfielder that we have that's part of our key rotational players. And we're going to talk about the midfielders in a moment, right? So we've got literally 4 forwards as key rotational players for our forward line, which was deeply missing last season. We've got 2 centre backs at least, or 2 defensive players at least, who are key rotational players who have come in, and we've got at least 1 midfielder that's making up that in the first 10 games, and that's what's allowed us to have a level of consistency in our performances. And that's what's given me the quiet confidence in that. Now, will we continue with this, and will it improve? I'm going to look at the squad players, the players that have played 225 minutes or less. So that's roughly about 2 and a bit games and less, right? To kind of see where we're at with this and what could what could potentially happen. Lewis Hall, we know, is currently looking at a hamstring injury, and there's going to be a second scan in 10 days or 8, which is probably 8-9 days from now, right? So the reason why Lewis Hall is in the squad players is because of injury. Otherwise, he would be in the first team squad, because even when he played against, I think, was it USG? Who did he play? Was it USG he played? It was a good performance there as well. So, once we get Lewis Hall, hopefully the hamstring injury isn't too bad. That's one to look out for, but we'll see where it's at. There's a good chance we're gonna get Lewis Hall back. I'm gonna talk about Joe Willock in a moment, but Lewis Hall potential to come back. Jacob Ramsey, we know, is coming back, right? So Jacob Ramsey was unlucky to have sustained an impact injury. Look, Sean Longstaff slide tackled him in the Leeds game, the game that he actually started, Jacob Ramsey, right? Had it not been for that, I think Jacob Ramsey will be up there with the key rotational players together with Lewis Miley. So we'd have two midfielders rather than the one midfielder in that key rotational area. So Jacob Ramsey, and I think Eddie Howe's confirmed this, will be back after the international break. He wasn't in the first in the squad for the Forest game just because he wanted to. Obviously, Eddie Howe wanted to give him extra time. So Jacob Ramsey is due back for the Brighton game. So that's something to look forward to. Great to have him on the bench, right? Others like, for instance, Jamal Lascelles, we know that he's going to be a squad player for a while, but he's there, he's available, he's injury-free, and he's ready to play for us. Emil Kraft is ready to supplement the squad. I think he did it against, who did he play against? I forgot who he played. Was it Bradford he played against? So that'll be his role. That's fine for us. Aaron Ramsdale, the reason he's there, it's because Pope has been having a very good season so far. 5 clean sheets in the Premier League alone. 6 if you include all cup competitions. 6 out of 10 games. You can't just, rotate a goalkeeper like that. It's not the same as midfielders and forwards. Especially a goalkeeper is playing really well. So it's almost like a positive sign because Pope is playing so well. So Ramsdale, being there isn't such, in terms of playing below 225 minutes, isn't such a bad thing. So most of those players, and Alex Murphy is obviously more like a development player, right? He's 19 years old. He might even get sent out on loan in January. So most of those players, I'm going to go to Joe Willock in a moment. He's the one, because he's a special concern I have. Most of those players are either currently injured, Lewis Hall, recovering from injury and due to come back in Jacob Ramsey, are elder statesmen who will always have a bit part role anyway in Kraft and Lascelles, or are development players like Alex Murphy, and in the case of Ramsdale, is a goalkeeper who's not there because he's not performing well or anything like that, but it's because he's a goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper that he's behind has got 6 clean sheets in 10 games and is playing really, really well. And obviously, there's only one position for a goalkeeper. There isn't like midfielders and strikers and everything else. What I'm saying is that it's understandable that it's there. It's not an issue. The one concern I have is for Joe Willock, and the reason, obviously, for Joe Willock is that he's not injured. He's not a development player. He's 26 years old, so he's in his peak right now. He should be in his peak right now. And for the better part of now, 2 years now, maybe 3, but certainly 2 years, or the last 18 months, we have not really seen the Joe Willock of old. And for instance, even when Eddie Howe's rotating players, like USG game, for instance, I can't remember if he wasn't even on the bench. He must have been on the bench, but we're 3-0 up, 4-0 up, and he doesn't put him on. Doesn't put him on in the final 5 minutes against Forest. Games that we're leading, we're in control of, which haven't been too many. Did he play against Bradford? I can't remember. Did Willock even play against Bradford, guys? So my biggest concern there is that we have a midfielder. Again, Miley's the only key rotational player midfielder at the moment, and that has to change, right? Ramsey's coming back, yes, but Willock is the other part of that midfield that's meant to give us depth. Whether it's providing quality and depth is my biggest issue for Willock. So, if anything, that's my main concern: is a player who is fit, who should be in his peak, but is not performing for whatever reason. Maybe there's other reasons for that. So that's my only main concern in terms of that. Otherwise, there's a lot of potential there. Hopefully, Lewis's whole hamstring issue isn't too bad, and we're seeing back earlier. But Ramsey is coming back, so he's going to add that extra key rotational player, be part of that key rotational, part of that key rotation in terms of our midfield. So that would mean that we'd have 2 midfielders in the key rotational area, 2 centre backs. You'd like a little bit more, and 4 forwards, which is really, really good, right? The other concern, obviously, though, is that we've got 2 first-team fullbacks that are out for a period of time. Ramsey 6 to 8 weeks, which will be 4 to 6 weeks by the time the international break is back, and we're going to find out about Lewis Hall. But we have Kraft for a period of time. Chow can play right back as well. Ideally, you'd want, obviously, those guys back, but that's what you have. And so my overall thing is what I'm saying, guys, is that why I think that we have the hallmark of a good squad and a good team, and that there's a potential that we could continue to see that improve in terms of our outputs on the pitch, and the main output is wins, is because we have much better quality and depth in our squad. And I'm fairly positive that our next games, hopefully, I think the next games will tell us a lot. And so before I close off the show, I'm going to just look at those games as well before we go to the chat. I didn't realize it's already hit the 2-hour mark, but just before I go to the chats and conclude the show, I just wanted to look at that as well. Let me take this off. Newcastle. Where's the matches? Okay, so it should be here. Can you guys see that? Let me make sure you guys can see that. No, you can't see that. All right. So there is an international break after this international break, because we need more international breaks, don't we? But from the 21st not 21st. So we come back on the 18th. We've got Brighton at home. No, Brighton away, excuse me. That's our week. So we kick off with an away game against Brighton. That's going to be interesting. That's going to be a good indicator, another good indicator of where we are. Brighton at home or away is difficult for us. But if we get points, especially 3 points here, that'll be a really good start, because the next 3 games, Benfica, which is Benfica Champions League, that's going to be at home. Fulham in the Premier League is going to be at home, and Tottenham in the League Cup is going to be at home. So 3 games: Champions League, Benfica, Premier League, Fulham, Tottenham, EFL Cup. So all 3 competitions at home Newcastle have. There's a real good opportunity for Newcastle to progress and to do well. And I think, God willing, everyone comes back healthy from the international excursions, we have the potential to do that. And obviously, we go towards the end of that. West Ham away, Athletic Club at home, before the international break with Brentford away as well. So 2 weeks there. So there's a real potential for Newcastle to continue progressing in the Champions League, in the League Cup, and obviously in the Premier League as well. So I'm quietly confident, but we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens, guys. So overall, my overall assessment of Newcastle so far is that supreme defense, clearly have a very good system. That's not by accident. That's not by luck. It's by design. We have an improving attack. I think the players are now beginning to work out what would help them to be more effective in their attack. And there's some sacrifices that have to be made. Like Gordon would love to be playing with Lewis Hall, but he can't because Lewis Hall is injured. So if you watch him, especially in the Forest game, working really, really hard off the ball, trying to make things happen for the team, it's stuff like that that really works and helps us. So I think the attack will improve. I think, and I'm quietly confident that we'll continue to be improving in terms of our kind of overall performances and be consistent in our performances, at least in not only in the league but also in the cup competitions as well. So taking all that into consideration, I think Newcastle are looking in good shape so far. That's like my overall assessment as well. So let's see what you guys say in the chat before we wrap things up. Adrian Pickett says, you can tell how promising Volta Messi is, but how salty Bayern are. Yeah, and I think that's that. There's also that ongoing beef between Lothar Matthäus and the other gentleman as well. I think because Lothar Matthäus was telling him, just pay whatever you need for Votamata, and the other guy refused. And Matthäus is letting everybody know, I told this guy, but he wouldn't listen. So I think that's why the president of Bayern Munich is kind of deflecting or is projecting by calling Newcastle fools and everything else, because I think he feels foolish. I think. Adrian Pickett says Willock just hasn't had the fitness to develop his form. Yeah, in the past, but now I think he is fit. He's fine, and Eddie Howe's not using him, and that's my biggest concern. If it's still the case, his fitness fine, but I don't think it is. He's on the bench. He's not being used. So not even for the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes of games, which is for me is I don't know what that is. Thank you, Aaron. And Aaron says, thank you, Philip. Amazing show as always. Thank you, Aaron. Really appreciate you guys' encouraging comments. Are absolutely phenomenal. Really, really helps me. Guys, as always, do remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you again for sending in your votes. We had, people voting twice and everything else. I loved it either way. You guys have got Tonali as your main man. I've got Nick Voltamada as my key performer so far. Regardless, Newcastle are doing well. I think we'll continue to do well. But as always, folks, what's important is that you guys look after each other. And as always, folks, God bless.